AI is coming for the part of your job that you hate. The email back and forth, the just checking in follow-ups, and the time zone math at midnight. And honestly, good riddance. Because the founders who figure this out first aren't working more, they're finally working on the right things. But most founders are still grinding through the irritating stuff themselves. It's like a badge of honor. You're scheduling your own meetings, chasing your own confirmations, managing 3 calendars like it's 2011. I think I've got 4 calendars. Meanwhile, some folks just handed all that to an AI agent and reclaim 10 hours a week. Here's what the modern workflow actually looks like now. You CC your AI executive assistant on an outreach email, forget about it, and 3 follow-ups later, that person becomes a customer. You didn't touch it. You tell the agent to protect your mornings and block time before every holiday through 2027, juggle your calendars across Singapore and Dubai time zones, and it never bats an eye. The people on the other end, they think they're talking to a human. Unless they don't, and maybe they'll jump on board too. You're not managing your calendar anymore, you're kind of sculpting your life, and your agents are painting the details. So it's kind of fun to think about. If AI is absorbing all the work that was too tedious for me to do consistently, what do I want to do with the time that it frees up? Welcome to AI for Founders, I'm Ryan Estes. And today's guest is Will Rubin, former Instagram exec who helped build Reels from the ground up and is now on a mission to give every founder access to an executive assistant through Workmate. If you're drowning in the busy work that's quietly killing your momentum, this one was made for you. Every week at aiforfounders.co, we drop the tools, tactics, and frameworks that actually move the needle. This is Founder Fuel. Join thousands of builders who read it before breakfast. Your next unfair advantage is one newsletter away at aiforfounders.co. And if this episode made you think, made you money, or made you late to something because you couldn't stop listening, please drop us a 5-star review and tell us why.
Shining stars, computer.
All right, Will, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is my pleasure. And I'm excited to talk to you because, oftentimes we get into the weeds and sometimes what the technical aspects of products are, but your product is one of those that you look at face value, like, I need that,
Yep.
So begin with kind of an overview of Workmate.
Yeah, I think that's a super right on observation. Sometimes we go to conferences and there are all these technical booths out there, and we have ours that's just say, do you want an executive assistant? And the non-technical audience just comes right over and knows exactly what it is, and they're flooded by a sea of other things that they can't even wrap their head around. So anyway, Workmate is everyone's executive assistant. I had an executive assistant when I was lucky enough to work at larger tech companies and get senior, and it really helped me. And we're on a mission to democratize access to executive assistants, to have that level of support on your calendar, on your scheduling, so that something else can take care of the busy work and you can stay focused on what really matters in your life and in your work. Get some time back for focused work or a more balanced life. And the back and forth of scheduling is something that we take care of.
Amazing. And the scheduling, I mean, this is just music to my ears because me personally, I do probably 4 or 5 different podcast episodes a week, for various shows. My calendar is stacked with sales calls, investor calls, talking to the board. It's just all calls. It's just this glowing rectangle that I live in all day long. And the scheduling can be challenging. It is part of my life, so I just kind of came to accept it. And I basically live and die by my calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it's not happening.
Me too.
And that provides, some gaps and some missed connections,
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about this scheduling agent. Like exactly kind of what differentiates Workmate and kind of like how I could, maybe me as a use case, could kind of intertwine this into podcast schedule booking, sales call booking, these kind of things.
Yeah. So Workmate does scheduling like a human executive assistant would do scheduling or does scheduling. We modeled the AI after the real job from my own personal experience and talking to others who have done the job or been lucky enough to have the support of an executive assistant. So it works like working with another human. It's not like working with an app or working with a chatbot. It's like working with a person. They have an email address. You can chat with them on text or on Slack or on Microsoft Teams. And you can do your scheduling the way you would a person. If you have a certain preference, you just tell them what that preference is. If you are going to be on vacation next week or going to be traveling for work, you just let them know how you want to schedule. And so it feels very natural and very human. And I think that's where we're going with AI assistants, that they'll just feel like another teammate, the same way that we've gotten so used to working with people remotely all around the world over the last 10 years, that in 10 years from now, we're going to be used to working with a mix of human and AI that feel like human.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%. So let's say, so we've got the agent in Slack. You know, I'm gonna call I'm gonna call my agent Jim Bob because there's something about a person that has two first names that just commands respect. You know what I mean? So I want him to feel powerful. So I'll come into Slack. Let's say I'm doing Whisper Flow. I hit function button. I'm like, hey, Jim Bob, will you send Will the pre-interview questions we like to ask and see if we can reschedule for next Thursday? And then Jim Bob would go off and do that.
yeah. So Jim Bob, you could do that in Slack. You send the link, and then Jim Bob or your workmate would go out and do it. And you asked what sets us apart. One thing that really does set us apart is that level of customization. It can feel like hiring a person. A lot of our customers totally white label it. It's totally up to you whether you call it Workmate or AI scheduler or Jordan or Jill or Jim Bob, and you can give it a email address at your domain. And so a lot of times our customers are scheduling with others, and they don't know that they're interacting with AI. They think it's a human, and that's what they want. And we have other customers who want to be fully transparent about that. And that level of customization is what we allow for. That level of white labeling is what sets our solution apart across not only the Google ecosystem, but also the Microsoft ecosystem.
Amazing. And this is kind of an interesting, I mean, maybe an ethical question, with, and maybe also just kind of user interface, so if I'm interacting with a video AI, I can tell immediately, at least of today, spring 2026, so it's like, do you need to announce it's AI? It's like, buddy, I already know that. The AI voices are getting so good that it might fool me for a while, where I'm like, maybe you should lead with like, hey, I'm an AI chatbot. You can ask me anything. And you're like, okay, cool. That actually makes me feel like I can take more time, that I can ask more questions. Human beings love them to death, but they get irritable and they don't know everything, and they have limitations. Of course, so does AI. But if it's announced to me in the beginning that like this is an AI chat, and then I'm like, okay, cool. I can take my time and like really kind of get into the nitty gritty here. If we're talking about like executive assistant, is it important to announce that it's AI behind the scenes, or is it just like, well, it's just doing a very finite, specific task? What are your recommendations as far as disclosure?
So I think there's a big difference between the internal and the external and what the medium of communication is. And so internally, you're chatting over Teams or Slack or text. Our users, the people who are part of a team that's on Workmate, know that they're interacting with an AI powered product. And that one-on-one relationship, it wants to be as quick as possible, immediate. And they know, and you can treat it like an AI, but some of them don't want their customers and clients to know, there's a flex. If you seem like you have an executive assistant, that's the flex. We've even talked to some customers who were faking it before, who had a separate email address that they would loop in because that's a flex. You seem more important than you are. And we have others who just are in older school industries where it's totally normal. They're interacting with people who have executive assistants all the time. They may have had an executive assistant in the past, but then got on their own or started their own company, or the team downsized or whatever, and they wanted to look to technology for that. And so we have many customers who are used to dealing with an executive assistant, and their business relationships are also used to dealing with executive assistants. And it feels completely natural. We've spent a lot of time making sure that those external communications are really high quality. They're vetted. There are multiple layers of AI review and sometimes human review. And so it really can pass off as a remote employee over email. And that's what a lot of our customers like. And I think that's fine. We often have people who do it that way. And then with the people they're close with, they say, that was AI. And then they become surprised. And that's how they become our customer. But again, it's totally up to you. We have other people who, fall on the other side of that ethical question. And they just wanted to be transparent. They want to use, so they call their Workmate or AI scheduler, and they're totally transparent about it. And then that's what they prefer. And it usually, we now have seen enough of this that I know that there are certain industries that prefer one over the other. There are certain demographics that prefer one over the other. And what sets us apart is the level of customization where we allow for both.
Quick side note for founders who are using AI to write content. You've probably noticed this. It's incredibly fast, but it doesn't really drive meaningful traffic. And honestly, that's because most AI-generated content is just average. There's no real insight, no depth, no structure. Missing things like internal linking, and Google's getting very good at filtering that out. So instead of trying to just prompt better, I actually came across something interesting called Nina. It's a system that combines human strategy and review with AI writing to create high-quality, SEO-optimized blog content that's actually designed to rank and keep ranking. What I like about it is that it's done for me. Their team handles the topic strategy and the content review and data markups for Google and turns blog posts into actual long-term traffic assets. So if you're a founder thinking seriously about organic growth, this is one of those things worth paying attention to. You can check it out at trynina.co. That's TRYNINA.co, trynina.co. Founders, you know better than anyone. The game changed overnight. Every industry runs on AI now. Medicine, law, finance, design, all of it. And while you're busy building the future, there's a whole generation of students about to enter the workforce who have no idea how to compete in it. AInativestudent.com fixes that. It's one-on-one AI coaching built specifically for high school and college students, personalized to their goals, their career path, their actual life. Your kid isn't learning to code, they're learning how to be fluent in the operating system of modern work. And colleges and employers, they're already noticing. Head to AInativestudent.com. It takes a couple minutes to apply for your student and lock in the 30-day money-back guarantee. The window to get ahead is right now. AInativestudent.com, and definitely have them sign up for the AI chat. It's the fastest growing for students in the world. Cool. I love it. Yeah, and that's wise because, I don't know if we're there yet, but there's going to be some people that are taking the other side of the ethical conversation and be like, why are you discriminating against my AI employee? It's not their fault that they're AI.
As you mentioned in the beginning, scheduling is we're just talking about scheduling here. We're not talking about world peace or diplomacy or, and so with scheduling, there are plenty of people who have virtual assistants across the world who help them with scheduling. And this is not very different from that. And I promise you a year from now, 2 years from now, it will be very normal to interact with employees who are actually AI.
So for some of us, it's already really normal.
Yeah.
As bizarre as that is the last 3 months,
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And I could see
3 months ago, I was saying in a year or 2 years, but in the last 3 months, the future has really arrived.
It really has. It really has. And it's almost like, it's like a feeling of like sinking into the moment of like where we are. Cause it's been fun to kind of prognosticate about what the future is going to look like. But now it's really like, okay, we've actually really arrived. It's in kind of this primitive state, but the things we are speculating about doing are here now. So it's like, let's immerse ourselves. It's been helpful for me to think about sinking into it. That way it doesn't feel like I did a cannonball into it and now I'm drowning. So I would love to hear, kind of as a side conversation here, kind of the emotional feeling that you have with the speed and intensity that's happening right now. There's a feeling that we talk about a lot that's feeling like you're behind, or there's a FOMO feeling, and it's mixed with this elation of, for builders and creators, it's possibly the most fun ever. So how are you kind of dealing with
Yeah.
the speed and pace?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on it. We're having a lot of fun. It's also challenging, especially building a company now. We're in the third year of building this company, and we've rebuilt our AI stack several times. Every couple months, there's a better way of doing it than we've been doing it before. And if you don't throw everything out, you're left behind. And the new company that comes along and tries to do this the latest and greatest way is going to do it better than the way you were doing it even 6, 12 months ago. And so you have to, for me, it's like really fun to be able to build anything. The roles in a company are becoming a lot more fluid. That I think is especially powerful at a small early stage startup because anyone can do anything and you can just get a lot more done with the same group of people. Uh, we're building a lot quicker than we could have been building than we were building in the past. This latest time that we threw everything out and rewrote it on the latest technology happened 2 or 3 times as fast as the previous one. At the same time, it also feels like you're building on unstable ground and you can't really plan for the medium term at all. You can like have a long-term strategy and vision and mission, and you can have a short-term plan, but the medium term just feels that medium range just feels so difficult to wrap your head around.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a feeling. I was talking to a guy, developer, he's working 14, 15 hours a day, which kind of put him in the hospital for about a week. Like he was overdoing it and he comes out and he's right back at it. And for him, he feels like the rug's going to be pulled,
Yeah.
that they're going to start releasing a hierarchy of models where, the at a price point he won't be able to like reach potentially. I mean, to that, I kind of look at the landscape. There's 5 or 6 foundational models, and the competition between all of them, I think, will always to be bigger, better, faster, cheaper. So I see the trend kind of getting running to zero, basically, where the infrastructure of AI becomes a utility, and you got a meter, you got your token maxing, but you're never really gonna,
Yeah.
finish it out. So, what's your take? Do you feel like there's a rug pull coming?
First of all, on the what keeps you from the hospital, you mentioned your kids before. My kids keep me from the hospital. Like there's certain hours a day where I just focus on that and my son woke up this morning talking about his new toy dinosaur and you just that keeps me grounded and it prevents me from they're waking up at the same time every day, so I have to go to bed or else I get no sleep and can't function in the office. So I do think that there's something to having a balanced life, even when things are are moving at this speed. You have to have family keeps you grounded and it allows you to, not overdo it.
Yeah. Well, and now working in flow is more important than ever
Yeah.
because, you're working with, let's just say, a dozen different agents and you're not in production as much as you're managing them. And,
Yeah.
from a management perspective, this is a big shift for a lot of people.
Sure.
A lot of people are
Yeah.
used to grinding it out. The part that they really like of the job was executing, whether that's design or it's writing or whatever
Right.
it is. But now more and more, we're shaping as we're always say we're sculpting more than we're
Yeah.
painting,
Yeah. I
So
think I think that's totally true. And yeah, I don't think we're quite there at the point where uh, if you step away for 12 hours, you're or 8 hours to sleep or whatever, that you're going to get the same level of productivity from your agents than if you were at your computer checking in, being unblocked. I think we will be there, but we haven't gotten there yet. Like, I, I think there's this interesting place that we're in right now where actually being available for is longer in the day actually does make your agents more productive. And hopefully we'll get out of that to a point where like you can go sleep the whole night and they're still going to be productive. But
yeah,
now,
well,
like, I think it's kind of in this middle ground where sometimes you're waiting around for them and you can like take micro breaks, 15, 30, 1 hour, but watch chess, eat lunch, whatever that kind of break. But a whole night is a whole day off, which is what humans really need to recharge. Uh, the agents are not fully autonomous to be able to do that. Yeah.
yeah.
So
You still got to babysit them a little bit. Well, a
Yeah.
lot of bit, but it could be detrimental. Like overdoing it is, especially if I'm talking about flow state, where I know for me, if I'm trying to like be the arbiter of taste, like I got a whole suite of agents that are going to execute for me, but it's my job to like make sure we're going in the right direction,
Yeah.
alignment. So for me personally, that means my sleep has to be on point, my diet has to be on point. I got to wake up and do yoga, and then during the afternoon, I need to like walk, because for me, for whatever reason, when I'm just walking casually, this is where my ideas start coming. This is
Yeah.
where I listen to my podcast. And so then those bursts, as far as like productivity and like opportunity, are worth 100x of just me sitting there grinding it out on the keyboard,
Totally. That it kind of reminds me in some way of like when I worked at Instagram and I had a 150, 200 person team. The bigger decisions were the ones that fell on me. The taste was what fell on me. And so you are flexing some management skills, but with AI as your team rather than people as your team.
Yeah. Nice. You brought up Instagram. I'd love to learn a bit more about that, particularly because I'm totally addicted to Reels. And so I just want to know what I can blame you for all of my Instagram addiction.
So I spend a long time at Instagram, and I like to talk about it in terms of three waves. The first wave of Instagram was the filters on your feed. The second wave was stories, and the third wave was constant content recommendations. And I really spent years on that third wave, helping you discover the best of what was out there on Instagram, whether it's keyword search, explore, being much more personalized, those recommendations coming into your feed, and Reels being the big one. And
Yeah.
so I worked on the team and led a big part of the team that was responsible for bringing Reels to market, the initial version of Reels, as well as growing it to the point where now many of us have become, it's the primary thing that we do on Instagram and love on Instagram. And making that super personalized, making it so that up and coming creators have a chance of breaking through. That's something that I spent a lot of time on. My teams were responsible for all the content ranking algorithms and recommendation algorithms across Instagram and all of the content viewing surfaces, including the first version of the Reels tab and bringing Reels into feed and determining what shows up when across the app.
Dude, the golden era. You saw it all. That's so cool. I've actually done a lot of work on Instagram too. Largely, it's reprogramming the algorithm so it doesn't just feed me all of the reels of beautiful women doing squats in the gym. It was a little bit embarrassing for a while. And if I see that video in the beginning, I was like, God dang. I mean, how can you scroll past it? But then when it was like every single one was that, I was like, this is totally embarrassing. So you programmed it with all the stuff that I really wanted to see, which is like fly tying and jujitsu and 90s NFL highlights. And I'm happy to say all my hard work is paid off, and my algorithm is much more
I'm so glad you brought
and family oriented.
That's something that I spent a lot of time and attention on and really cared about it. And we talked to people, especially men. This was the early days of suggestions on Instagram where they would say, I go to my explore tab and I'm embarrassed to show my significant other, my wife, whatever, because it has stuff like that you're talking about. And so we spent a lot of time trying to give people more control over that and do a better job of detecting what actually was the content in an image rather than just the engagement signals that were coming out of that image. And now Instagram, I haven't been there for a number of years, but largely, generally speaking, they've continued on that same trend of giving people more and more control over what recommendations show up, and really good control, because just like you said, all of the people that we talked to say, showed us their explore tab or their recommendations, and they would be able to say, this is what I see. And also I can tell you what I love. Help me bridge the gap there. And
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
I think really exist where if you are willing to put in the work, you can bridge the gap.
Yeah, totally. And not to linger on Instagram too long, but it is a fun conversation with my wife and I because I like to see what she's looking at or what's being served to her. She likes to see what's being served to me. It's just interesting. It does kind of reveal a little bit about you, but also it reveals
Yeah.
a lot about humans. So my wife, I'll look over her shoulder and it's always like these dudes that are like in the kitchen with an apron and their shirt off and have giant muscles and they're hairless. And I'm like, what is that? She's like, well, they're beautiful men. I was like, no, I think that Instagram thinks you're a gay man. Like this looks like gay content. She's like, well, I like it too. I'm like, all right, well, I can't deny. If I look like that, I would be cooking with my shirt off too. So I get it. What are we doing?
One of the latest features of Instagram that I love using with my wife is they call it the blend, where you can create like a shared space where your algorithms kind of come together and
Cool.
you get to see, and it's in your DMs. So you can start like an area in your DM where you get videos that each of you kind of like, and then your preferences start to converge.
Cool.
And then sometimes
That's
now
cool.
we see the same thing and then we talk about it. And I feel like we've bonded over the content that we see in another level. And it makes it so that like I'm not just seeing my stuff and she's not just seeing her stuff and we're off in our world, but it's more of a shared experience. So I recommend trying that out.
Amazing. My wife also likes those picking videos, which I find is absolutely disgusting, but for
Oh,
some
yeah.
reason they're incredibly popular. So I don't want to see any of that. None
Yeah.
of Mrs.
I want
Estes'
to see any of
content.
that either.
Cool. Now, from seeing all of that content coming through Instagram, how did that kind of like, shape how you wanted the interactions with the agents that you're building? Like, how did you kind of approach, what's the personality of a Workmate kind of EA?
Yeah. I mean, I spend a lot of time in building products that were entertaining, that are entertaining, and that have mass appeal. And with Workmate, it's kind of on the other side of the spectrum. We want to go for helpful and professional.
Yeah.
And a lot of our customers are trusting Workmate in the middle of their important relationships. You're in sales, so you have a podcast. So your guests, the people who you're trying to sell to, your investors, all those people are really important in your life. And if to put a Workmate in between them means there's a level of trust and professionalism that you expect. And one of the biggest challenges with Workmate has been how do you build that trust with the customer and also deliver a consistent experience with AI at the middle so that that trust does not get broken. And so we spend a lot of time making sure that Workmates write the same way, that they do scheduling in a very consistent way, that they write this when they're offering times, that they format the times and the time zones in the same way every time. A human would do it. They would have their way and they would do it. And so we've had to curate the Workmate's voice so that they do it the same way every time, and then figure out what knobs people want to be able to control, and then give them the ability to control and customize those knobs while still maintaining the consistency.
Yeah. We've all been kind of trained to just like schedule on people's calendar links. Why is Workmate better?
It's a good question. I think it's much better. I think scheduling on calendar links, which by the way, we support, we have unlimited free calendar links because that's in the past. I think it's been totally commoditized, but there is a use case for it. Workmate's better because for a few reasons. One, it protects your time the way you want to schedule. If you're giving somebody else a calendar link, you're putting the burden on them to schedule and you're letting them choose all of your time, or you have to artificially constrain your availability. The reality of scheduling is much more nuanced. You have times that you're available, but you have times within those times that you prefer. You have preferences about when things should be scheduled, at what time of the day, on what days of the week. And so that's something that you could communicate to a human, and you have to use hard rules with calendar links. So our system is a lot more nuanced, which means that your time is better protected and managed rather than putting that responsibility on somebody else to pick the time off your link. The A particularly egregious version of this that we hear is that like calendar links make rescheduling really easy. So sometimes you'll plan your whole day around uh, a meeting, or your whole day forms around that meeting, and then 15 minutes before they just click that link in the invitation and they go and reschedule it and blow up your day, and then you end up becoming less productive. And so sometimes like having a workmate and having them reach out and having it not be instantaneous is actually better to protect your time.
Yeah.
The second reason, which I think is the even bigger one, is that Workmate doesn't drop any balls. You're never gonna not get that meeting scheduled. It always follows up. If you're sending a calendar link, then it's on you to see whether they click that link, and it's on them to click that link. With Workmate, you just CC your workmate. They offer sometimes, and they'll manage the back and forth. You can forget about it. But if the other person doesn't respond, they'll remember and you can still forget. And so the follow ups are huge. And I can't tell you how many times I've met someone and forgot about them. And then a meeting has been on my calendar because Workmate was persistent and that person ended up a customer. And so if you're in the kind of business where you're dealing with a high volume number of people and sometimes you forget to follow up, or you have to build imperfect systems to follow up, or you're spending a lot of time following up, and your workmate will do that for you every time and get the meeting booked. And if their follow-ups aren't working, they'll do what a human would do and message you on the side saying, "Hey, I've followed up with this person 3 times already. Would you like to follow up? You want me to keep being persistent?" And I find that I'm able to, book a lot more meetings that way, and I don't have to feel bad if I drop the ball.
Tremendous. Yeah, amazing. Couple of functionality questions, so two of them. One, let's say I want to personalize it where for my own personal optimization of my day, which is to say I want to get that yoga in. I want to get that walk in every day because that makes me happy and that makes me better with my work. And I can tell Jim Bob that, and so basically what he'll notice, and this is more along the predictive generative aspects of AI. So I wake up, I'm working, and Jim Bob's like, "Hey, Ryan, I noticed you didn't get to yoga this morning. You want me to book you from 2 to 3? There's a yoga class available for you. You do have a 3 p.m. call, but I can push that meeting back 10 minutes for you. Would you like me to do that?" Does it have that kind of functionality?
So if you want to have yoga every day, you can book your yoga. But I think what you did was even something that we're working on, but is the next level where they can go and book a class for you on a website for a yoga class. They'll notice that you didn't have yoga today and you need to have yoga every day. But a version of that you can do with Workmate today. You can say, "Hey, I want yoga every day. Can you book me a yoga slot every day from 9 to 10 a.m.?" But that is movable. If you need to book something over it, feel free to book something over it and just move my yoga to another time. And if there's no other time to move it for that day, then don't book over it, or still book over it and I'll skip yoga today. So all that you can do today. I think the next step is being able to actually book the yoga class for you, which we're working on, but we've really focused on scheduling work meetings really, really well. So we can book a Zoom or a Microsoft Teams for you, book on someone's booking link, et cetera, et cetera.
Cool. What about in 2 weeks? I'm double booked. Will Joe Bob be like, "Hey, Ryan, you're double booked in 2 weeks. You want me to reschedule with one of them?"
Yeah, that every week on Sunday you'll get starting Sunday night you'll get an email about the next day if you have any conflicts, and on Monday morning your workmate will look across the whole week and let you know what conflicts you have, and so your conflicts are always going to be managed for you proactively. You won't have to do that thing where the night before you're like, "Shit, I can't go to bed right now because I need to clear these 5 conflicts on my calendar, and it'd be rude if I did it the next day, so I got to do it now." And that so many of our customers describe to us that feeling of like needing to manage clear up conflicts on their calendar the next day or for the next week before. they go to bed. And now you don't have to worry about that because your workmate's texting you all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. When I say that if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen, that's real. And right now I'm feeling stressed and pressured because I haven't scheduled like summer trips or fall trips for the family. And there's a lot of reasons because there's a lot of moving parts in families. You know what I mean? But I know I need two fishing trips. I need to plan my hunting trip that coordinates with my son's football schedule. I need to make sure that my daughter's getting off to college. There's all these things that have to come together that is just like, it
Yeah.
just takes a day to sit down and do it, but I haven't done it. The other thing is, for example, I talked to my brother. He lives in Miami, and he's like, "Hey, man, let's get a trip together. I want to come into Colorado." I'm like, "Okay, actually, let's do the weekend after the 4th of July because all the mouth breathers will be out of the hills, and we can get up there and do our thing." Now, what I would love to be able to do is say, "Hey, Joe Bob, the Thursday and Friday after 4th of July, clear my schedule. Also, clear." The Thursday and Friday before every national holiday until 2027, and then send me updates to schedule family trips on those dates. Is that functionality available?
Yeah. You can do that. If you wake up in the morning and you're sick or you need to go on a last minute business trip or you want to plan ahead for holidays or vacations, just send a message saying, "Hey, I need to rebook all my meetings on this day, clear my calendar." And then your workmate will reach out to every single one of them and reschedule it. If you have a trip, you can say, "Hey, I'm going to be traveling on this day. Only book in-person meetings in this place and no remote meetings." Just you do it the same way a person would. If you had a person working for you, they could be able to do that. They would be able to do
Yeah.
that. And this is the same.
Yeah. It's interesting because the idea is face value is so easy to get. Oh, it'll schedule your meetings for you. You're like, great. But really, this is almost like lifestyle management, where it's like, okay, now I can be more intentional with my time because if I'm not, I'm going to work, 8 to 8 every single day, 6 days a week, because I'll just start scheduling it out. But if you can set parameters for yourself, you can set, just by talking to it to be like, hey, these are what's important to me. These are the dates. Like, make sure all this stuff is happening and it just happens. It goes to the calendar, which frees your time, frees, but also freezes your time. So then you can take the steps necessary. I think it's brilliant. I love it. Let's talk about pricing a little bit because I noticed there isn't any pricing on the website. Is that intentional?
Yeah, our focus right now has been on like trying to bring on bigger and bigger companies. And so we try to be very white glove about what the needs are, what the volume is going to be, and then figure out the pricing. But if it's just an individual or someone getting on, then we have very reasonable pricing that's very competitive and very affordable. It's way lower than the cost of a person.
Yeah, 100%. So, and talk about the difference there because I see this as a very personal kind of asset as opposed to like maybe an enterprise add-on. So when you're looking for multiple seats, I mean, that's obviously for a business model that makes a lot more sense because the revenue is larger. But
Yeah.
is it more successful selling in with multiple agents, multiple seats, multiple people than going for like individuals?
We have the range of customers. We have teams where they bring their whole team on. They start with a pilot, maybe of just the executives. We have people who already have executive assistants on those teams, and those executive assistants want to spend less time scheduling because they have a lot of other things to do. And so, one of the biggest surprises is that we have a lot of teams where the executive assistant is also a user of Workmate, and we've built specific tools for them. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have the people who are solopreneurs, founders, consultants who are running their own businesses who find this useful. And so, our sales motion is much more geared towards the former, but anyone can come in and try it for free. And if you're just a one-person team, you're going to be paying a pretty reasonable price when comparing to the time that you're going to save. And also, there are other options out there, which would be hiring someone either locally or anywhere in the world to help you.
Cool. And I have 3 Google calendars that I maintain. It's a hellish landscape. Can Jim Bob handle 3 different calendars?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like that's no problem. You can connect 3 calendars. You can You can for free connect 2 calendars and schedule a couple meetings a month without paying anything. Um, and yeah, we do that very,
Well,
very easily. We have people who are scheduling meetings across all time zones. Humans find time zone conversion hellish. AI doesn't bat an eye. So, yeah.
oh, shout out to my people in Singapore and Dubai. I tell you, for the Mountain Standard time zone, it is the worst. I just like, oh man, I am loath to make you stay up till 10 p.m. to talk to me, but I'm not taking a call before 9 a.m. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, and also the conversion, they're probably just sitting there Googling it. And if you're trying to schedule a big work meeting, you're looking at that
Totally.
terrible view in Outlook where you see everybody's snakes across different time zones. And it's hard, but Workmate doesn't bat an eye at that. So you just chat, you get rid of all that and just chat.
Amazing. All right. Will, we're ready to enter the quantum round. Are you ready for this?
Is that going to be fast? Let's do it.
Ish. It's pretty fast.
Let's do it.
Okay. Aside from Workmate, what experiments or toys or what are you building with AI?
We've been experimenting a lot with OpenClaw and other similar things to try to automate our processes and also try to make Workmate more versatile and flexible and be able to do things beyond scheduling. And it's been really awesome. Like, I have the OpenClaw running on my my Mac Mini, doing a lot of things. We now have it in the cloud. Our team has several OpenClaws in the cloud doing things, and we've been having a lot of fun with that. So much fun that we're planning on incorporating it into our product.
Cool. What's the most valuable thing that you're doing with OpenClaw right now?
We're managing all of our paid advertising through OpenClaw. We used to, and to some extent still do for now, pay some agencies to manage and experts to manage our ads, but OpenClaw is just as good at them and is optimizing 24/7. And I think the next level that we're trying to get it to is to not just optimize our current creatives, but generate a lot more new creatives and be constantly experimenting at a rate that's like superhuman.
Cool. So it's creating the content and the creative. It's deploying it. It's measuring success and publishing and unpublishing accordingly.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it does better than Meta's Facebook Ad Manager?
Yeah, on the Meta side and especially on the Google side, the management of it and the analysis of it is definitely better. The creative side, I don't think we've like quite fully cracked that loop. Like you can kind of tell when it's slop and AI versus real, and sometimes those perform better still, and it surprises me. But but generally speaking, the creative that I feel most proud of is the one that our team makes still.
It's frustrating though, right? I'll do the same thing. I'll work for 2 hours on a video, be like, all right. And I publish it, it gets 10 views. And then I'll like just kind of take a quick take from the podcast or up there, 50,000 views. I'm like, man, that's not fair.
Although I think the next step is pretty awesome. Like we're working on a video for a new product launch, and our team is using AI entirely to generate the visuals of the video, but we're still editing it pretty heavily manually. And we're creating something that both feels really high quality and is the kind of thing that you could never create without AI.
Do you have a life motto or a framework that sticks out as a founder and a leader? Is there kind of like a skeletal phrase that gets you motivated?
That's a good question. It was something that I learned very young. I used to be the type of person who wanted to get everything my way, didn't pick my battles, and now I've learned to pick my battles, to what's important and what's not important, and focus on the things that focus on what matters in life and at work. And sometimes the perfect is the enemy of the good.
Yeah. Seems more relevant now than ever. With all the opportunity, it's almost like what you're not doing is more important than what you are doing.
Yeah, and sometimes if you don't focus on doing everything perfectly, then you can get 10x more done, because the difference between 90% and 100% is a lot of time. I think the expression that the last 20% is 80% of the time, or whatever it is actually correct sometimes. And so, oftentimes it really matters to get to 100% and to focus on the last 20%, but you can get way more done if you don't. And so I think now, even in this AI world where that last 20% sometimes still falls on the human to do, you have to know when it really matters and when it doesn't.
100%. Will, I got a boogie. This has been such an awesome conversation. To kind of wrap things up, I know careinternational.org is important to you. Tell us a little bit about that company, or I'm sorry, nonprofit.
Yeah, I have some friends who are really involved in this nonprofit, and they've been around for decades, and they do great work to save lives and defeat poverty all around the world. And I know people who have gone on trips with them and delivered packages all around the world to help people pretty profoundly. And I think it's just a great cause. So I'm happy to support it, and I am happy that if your audience supports it as well.
Incredible. CARE works to help save lives and defeat poverty across the globe. Careinternational.org. Of course, workmate.com is where you can find Workmate. How much did you pay for that domain?
It wasn't that much. We've spent a good, a small amount on domains, but it was less than you would think. And we have a good domain broker if you need it.
More than 10,000?
Yeah, more than 10,000, but not that much more.
Cool. Amazing. Yeah. Great domain. 8 letters. 8 letters. It's nice. Wills, where's the best place for people to connect with you personally online?
LinkedIn, email, feel free to reach out, will@workmate.com. And LinkedIn is also a great place. And if you want to try out Workmate, just go to our website. We have a 2-week free trial. You can get started. And happy to hook up any of your listeners with an extended trial if they reach out to me.
Tremendous. I know I'm going to do it. Definitely go check out the free trial of Workmate. It looks so cool. I'm really excited about it. Talking about schedule and calendar, I didn't realize how much I needed to do that. So, Will, I appreciate that. All the links will be in the show notes. So definitely check that out. You bet.
And we got to get you hooked up. Extra free trial for you. I really enjoyed it. So,
okay.
I really would love to. You get it exactly. Would love to get you on board.
Cool. I'm signing up today. Every week I sit down and ask myself one question. What do founders actually need to know about AI right now? Not the think pieces or the stuff that sounds impressive, the real useful put it to work today stuff. Then I write it up, send it to you in your inbox free. That newsletter is called AI for Founders, and I built it because I was tired of wading through hit pieces and people that are afraid of the future. Each issue, I break down the tools worth your time, the strategies that are working, and the ways you can use AI to grow your company without burning out or getting left behind. Thousands of founders read it every week, and I'd love for you to be one of them. Subscribe for free at aiforfounders.co. 3 seconds to sign up, and I promise it's worth it. I want to tell you about someone I think you should hire. Her name is Casey Taylor, and Casey is an AI partnership agent. And Casey's entire job is securing brand sponsorships for your podcast. Not handing you a spreadsheet, actually reaching out, making the pitch, and closing the deal for your show on your behalf. Chasing sponsorships for podcasters is a headache. They'd rather be recording episodes. Casey manages that completely. You brief Casey on your show, Casey goes to work, and you get back to doing the thing you're actually good at. Whether you've got 5,000 listeners or 50,000, she knows how to find the right brands for your audience and get them on board. You need Casey. Every podcaster does. Go to gethowdy.com, that's GETHOWDI.com, and meet Casey Taylor. Your new partnership agent is ready when you are. If Instagram changed their algorithm tomorrow, how many of your followers on Instagram could you actually reach? Now ask yourself, how many people are on your email list? The gap right there is the gap between a personal brand you're borrowing and one that you actually own. The best founders in the world, the ones getting the deals, the stages, and the inbound, they have newsletters. They show up in inboxes every week. They build real relationships at scale. Inbox Alchemy makes that happen for you. They write your weekly founder newsletter, build you a stunning newsletter website, and grow your list to 25,000 engaged subscribers in 6 months. All managed end-to-end, so it's generating pipeline while you focus on building your company. Algorithms are someone else's decision. Your email list is yours forever. Head to inboxalchemy.co and start building the audience no one can take away from you.